Welcome to Reality Creative Video, and we got another alchemy segment. Today I want to talk about water. RO water, distilled water, drinking water. In the comment section we've had a lot of topics on water over the last few weeks. And so I want to summarize some of those things and perhaps give you some solutions to the don't drink RO or distilled water problem. I don't mean to inflame people like in that video where I say don't drink distilled water or RO water. You have can't believe the controversy over that whole thing. And, I get it. The water isn't so good that you're drinking. You want to give your bodies the best that you can. And unfortunately, in my opinion, you're just trading one poison for another. RO water is very good for detoxing yourself. Drink RO water or distilled water for 2 weeks or a week. 2 weeks is kind of long. For a week and you will flush all the toxins out of your body. Drink it longer than that and, well, you're going to wind up flushing more than just the toxins out of your body. Anyway, water is very polar negative and polar positive. And when it's distilled or RO water, there's nothing in it at all. And that acts as these charges, these positive and negative charges, pull everything into it. Now, there are things you can do with drinking water. We're going to talk about that. Water filtration, naturally, is important. You definitely should do some kind of filter for your water. A carbon filter or something like that, or a Brita filter. You should also know the quality of your water to begin with. And so this is one of these. This is a water test strip. A test for all of the things that you'd want to test for in here. Fluoride is one of the things that's in here. Nitrates, there's some other things that lead. Of course, you don't want lead in your water. Iron isn't bad. They put iron in here, but iron is not bad, okay? That's all right to have in your water. Copper is okay to have in your water as long as, and mercury is definitely not all right to have in your water. But anyway, there's a whole bunch of stuff on here. So it's good to test your water to see what's in it. And then maybe try your filter. If you got a refrigerator or whatever it is that has the filters in it, you can test it after it goes through that filter and see what your water quality is to start with. And then you can figure out what you want to remove. If you don't have any fluoride in your water, you don't need to remove the fluoride, so you don't need to worry about that. So, now, one of the things we talked about in the comment section was something that blew my mind. Birth control pills and estrogen. Now, it seems people throw away their birth control pills, and naturally the urine contains estrogen in it. And what happens in the city systems, they recycle some of that water and put that back into the system. And unfortunately, the filtration that they do does not remove those things. And I've done investigating, and the only reliable way of removing birth control medicine and estrogen is from RO, using reverse osmosis. They're not even sure for what I can find online, or my chemist isn't even sure if distillation will take those things out. But there's very little information on it, and I don't even know how we would go about testing for that stuff to begin with to see if it's in the water. I'm sure there's a way to do it. So, that brings up a whole other thing of stuff that's in the water. What do? You could drink spring water, bottled water. I've told you can also mix take 50% distilled or RO water and mix it with your tap water to cut it down. But the best, what I would think would be the best solution would be to re-mineralize distilled or reverse osmosis water. Unfortunately, there's no good ways to do that. Now, you can buy these mineral supplements to re-mineralize distilled water or RO water, but you know what? All they are is sea salt. Now, I'm going to show you how to re-mineralize RO water or distilled water using sea salt. And it's not a perfect method, okay? Because the idea is sea salt contains a whole mess load of trace minerals. But the bulk of the thing in sea salt is going to be calcium, potassium, and magnesium. That's the big things that are going to be in sea salt. But what we want to do is we want to fill those holes in the RO water, the polar positive and negative. We want to fill all the holes in the water so that the water doesn't need anything when you drink it. So for now, I'm going to show you how to remineralize with sea salt. Now, dead sea salt would be a better way to do this because there's more trace minerals and stuff in there, but that's up to you. You can't use regular salt. It's got to be sea salt. The idea is to get the trace minerals in there, even though they're at like tiny, tiny amounts. So the idea is to get the trace minerals in there. You know, the other stuff, the big things, the calcium, the potassium, and magnesium, and the sodium, you don't really need, but that's coming along for the ride on this one. So I've done the math for you. This is 250 milliliters of RO water, about an 8-ounce glass of water. And if I put the TDS meter in, now, yeah, let me just say that the best way to do this is with a TDS meter. So if you can get a TDS meter, they're pretty cheap. That is by far the best way to remineralize water, because at least you know what's going on. And especially with like dead sea salt water. I don't have dead sea salt water here. I just have regular generic sea salt water. And that might be a higher concentration of salt. So you might need to use the TDS meter for that. So what I want you to do first, all right, is you're going to make my stock solution NaCl. This is for those of you that aren't going to use the TDS meter, okay? Well, even for those of you that are using the TDS meter, all right, you can make the stock solution. It just makes it easier to measure the amount of salt we're going to put in here. So I have a video on making stock solutions, and I will link it in the description. But basically, we're going to take 1.5 grams of sea salt, and we're going to mix it with distilled or RO water with 500 milliliters of distilled water. And you're going to mix it up. And that's going to give you a very diluted salt solution, which makes it easier for us to remineralize our stuff. But like I said, if you have a TDS meter, you could do it by just sprinkling the salt in here. But I'll go through the math on this for those of you that don't. Anyway, I'm going to measure this water. And I know you can't really see the meter here. But anyway, as usual, it's 8 parts per million. My RO water is 8 parts per million, usually. So then we're going to take 4 milliliters of my stock solution of NaCl, and we're going to add it. And we're going to mix it up. And we're going to take another reading. All right, and now, I know you can't see it. Oh, it comes in at 53 parts per million. 54 parts per million. Now, if you look at the back of this particular meter, carbon filters and mountain spring waters generally produce 50 to 100 parts per million water. So now we're at 54 parts per million. So what we got here is basically spring water. I don't taste any salt in it, but the sodium is there. And that's also, you know, if you're a heavy water drinker, you're going to be drinking sodium. So if you have a problem with sodium, with remineralizing, then you're not going to be able to do that. So, if you were doing a gallon, okay, because you're not going to want to just do a glass at a time. So doing the math, if you're doing a gallon, you're going to use 30 to 60 milliliters of this stock solution. That'll give you anywhere from 40 parts per million to 55, 60 parts per million, roughly. Roughly, it comes out to, you know, a 1-to-1 thing. 30 will give you 30, 40 will give you 40, anyway, roughly. It depends on your salt and that you're using. So that'll just get you in the ballpark of a drinkable solution that isn't going to take everything out of your body. But like I said, the sodium might be a problem. So what else is, we talked about, I did research on, my chemist and I did research on filters. The Brita Long Last filter, which is not, it's not a 0 parts per million filter. It's just one of these Brita filters that they sell. The National Science Foundation did a test on that particular filter. It has to be the Long Last filter. They claim they're using a new activated carbon that they supposedly will remove 95% of fluoride out of there. And all the other stuff, chlorine and everything else. So you might want to try that. That you could drink right away, because that's not stripping everything out of your water. That's just stripping out the bad stuff and leaving the good, the good stuff that your body can handle in it. So you won't have to re-mineralize that if you use this particular filter. And maybe other filters down the road will get on ball with it, or they may even work. It's just that the National Science Foundation had only tested this filter, or if they did, they didn't. If they tested others, they didn't say. So I know water is a big problem. We want to drink the clearest amount of water. You're 90% water or 98% water, whatever it is. So, I mean, really, you want to have the best water in your body. And solutions for that in our day and age when our water is so toxic is not so, so much. So for now, this remineralizing of your water, your drinking water, is about the best that I can give you guys. Outside of just, if you want to keep drinking your distilled water or your RO water, that's fine. I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just saying it may not be the healthiest solution for your problem. I'm Hermes. This is Reality Creative Video, and I will talk to you again soon.